of talk radio, demonizing yours truly for influencing the White House shooter who thought he was Jesus. They're really gearing up to take everything. And I sat there with family last night at my house for Thanksgiving. Like, we had it at my house. It was fun. And I even enjoyed watching the football game. 2 seconds left, UT field goal. A movie finish, a photo finish. And I sat there and I watched people having a tribal victory of satisfaction that UT had defeated the A&M hordes festooned in their military regalia. But the New World Order was still there. The GMOing of the food was still there. The cancer viruses and the vaccine was still there. And I knew all the archetypes, the home team's army running out of the gladiatorial underground base out to face the enemy, the young maidens out there presenting themselves to the warriors. The maidens will be handed to the young men that defeat the foreign tribe. That's one tribe on one side, the other tribe on the other. University of Texas in the enemy's camp, behind enemy lines, all of its systematic social engineering, archetypal iconography, total programming, intermixed with advertisements and brainwashing and all the rest of it. And the last rivalry in 115 years. Why am I not concerned with it? Why? Something's wrong with me, you see. I'm not a man. I shouldn't be concerned about the end of America, the end of the dollar, the attack on the family, World War III being engineered. Because after all, I was given a football game. I shouldn't be concerned with all the police state things I saw while I traveled the country that just stunned me, worse than I even thought. I shouldn't be concerned. MF Global was 400 million, 600 million, 700 million, a billion, 1.2 billion, more than 1.2 billion. Today, Reuters says it's 3 billion of people's private accounts stolen, and you're not getting them back. Ha, 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 ha. A new precedent, and so what? That doesn't matter if they take people's private bank accounts or brokerage accounts. After all, Keith McCoy defeated the tribe that was wearing purple. The prunes, or whatever the other team's called. Again, I shouldn't be concerned by this false reality scientifically set up to manipulate our tribal primitive instincts. Everything the globalists engage in, I study it. Every move they make. And when I look at the general public, on average, who is completely unconscious of the fact that they're being bombarded with propaganda, that they're being physically poisoned, those aren't just words. You're being assaulted. And it's a mind game, though. If somebody's dog starts digging holes in your yard, to go back to the dog analogies, most people will get angry, especially if they learn that the neighbor knows their dog is doing that and doesn't care. And if you said something to your neighbor about it nicely, hey, Bill, your dog's digging holes in my yard and digging out my plants and killing them. And if the neighbor said, well, Bob, I don't care. Get out of my face. Got a problem? You, even if you were a nice guy, would have to control yourself not to get in a fist fight. Hey, but the scientists genetically engineer the major food crops to absolutely screw up your endocrine systems, to reduce your fertility. The documents are public. We've published them. We've written articles about it. And you tell the average person that, they're like, yeah, right. Okay, well, everybody knows the government's doing stuff. What are you going to do about it? You see, that's what it is. You feel powerless. The globalists are masters of psychology. And they have learned how humans tick and how humans operate, cold-bloodedly. And that's what frustrates me, because, yes, it's sophisticated, but when you're aware of it, you still have your instincts. You're still who you are. But those instincts were designed for another system, a primitive system, where humans were in groups of no bigger than 20 or 30. And now we're in this false technological system that was designed. Technology was focused for hundreds of years in certain ways to control populations. And now it's been brought to a high science. The problem is you reap what you sow. There is a feedback loop. And as hard as the ruling class social engineers, the human architects, as hard as they try to stay out of their own system, it is blowing back on them so bad. And that's the parable. We see the parable everywhere. Emperor Palpatine, Revenge of the Sith, tries to fry somebody, and it blasts back on him. That's in every major archetype. And that's basically what the elite are doing. And I'm watching humanity mutate and fall apart and become stunted right in front of my eyes. And I talk to the general public, and they're in a trance. Oh, they may even go, yeah, Alex, you're right about the New World Order. Now, will you please stop talking about it? The game is about to begin. The game, I mean, I should be 24/7 climbing up on top of billboards, spray painting messages of liberty. I'm not saying do that, but you know, I should be doing, and you should be doing, bullhorning on street corners, going to city council every week, running for office, clawing at every point you can to get the word out. I mean, I've talked a lot about this, but the fact that now, when Chernobyl happened in '86, for 6 months, they wouldn't let the children in Europe, northern, southern, eastern, you name it, drink the local milk or eat local vegetables. They had to be thrown away because they knew that that was where it was raining down on and then bioaccumulating in it. And they didn't want the children getting massive increases in leukemias and other cancers directly connected to radioactive isotopes or meltdowns. Today, similar, in some cases, higher levels are hitting the United States, much higher levels in Japan. And the same thing in Japan. They're not stopping the milk, the produce. They're just saying, eat it. And here they're just saying, eat it. Okay, levels went up from Connecticut to Colorado to California. We don't care. We don't care, just we're going to raise the levels of what's safe. I know I talk a lot about that, but it's a fundamental change. It's like the common sense, life preservation, public safety, life force switch has been flipped off. The globalists flipped it off in the general public to a great extent. But they've now flipped it off in themselves because there's no way the globalists are immune from this. And then you read their writings, a lot of the higher level ones are actually conscious of that, and they say, yes, the goal is to kill everything. We just want to kill. We just want to kill humanity. And then you find out you're literally dealing with demon-possessed creatures.
We're on the march.
All right, I'm going to give you the toll-free number. We're going to take your calls while we go through the news. The toll-free number is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. We will get you up and on the air. Here's another article out of the literally 200 plus I have here. Criminals and cyberbullies to be banned from the web, London Telegraph. Well, thank goodness criminals and cyberbullies will be banned. But worldwide, under the same standardized plan, they've introduced similar legislation here. If you ever say something bad about someone, including a corrupt dirtbag politician, well, there's no free speech. If you hurt someone's feelings, then you will be fined or arrested. They already do this in Europe, and now it's coming here. Criminals who commit offenses online, but it'll all be selectively enforced, of course, and cyberbullies will be banned from the internet as part of the government's new cybersecurity strategy announced today. Now, how do they ban you from the internet? Oh, what's been built in for, 5 years in all the Microsoft systems? An internet ID. It's just waiting to be implemented. And thumbprinting and digital face scanning to access the web. To authenticate that you're allowed to be online. They also are talking about using voice print. You know about different programs, why if you try to upload some music to YouTube that you don't own, within seconds of it going live, it's already been scanned by the software that recognizes it and knows what song it is. It's voice print. And now they're moving to voice print. And Lieberman's back in the news, calling for censorship of the internet. It calls for police and courts to make more use of existing cyber sanctions to restrict access to social networks and instant messaging services in case of hacking, fraud, and online bullying. Sex offenders and those convicted of harassment and other antisocial behavior also face more internet restrictions under the new strategy. The new strategy, yes. Oh, but here's another article out of the same Telegraph. Sex offenders, including pedophiles, should be allowed to adopt. That's right, and it says that the government is being advised in the new vetting scheme that, well, let pedophiles adopt children. Let sex offenders be teachers. Come on, they've got rights too. That's right, and you're a bigot. You're a bigot if you don't like Jerry Sandusky. You listen to that interview he did, he's like, the reporter asked him, he says, well, are you attracted to children? He's like, well, I don't know. In fact, we should play that later, Jerry. I meant to play that last week and never did. We ought to cue up that creep. And, of course, the reporter who 6 months ago forced all this out in the paper locally is saying, oh, yeah, this goes into children being brought through this system, through the Second Mile and other systems, to donors. Of course. Who else but this type of garbage would come up with this? Who else but these people? The system is run by very sick freaks at the top. And then they've got a whole army of mercenaries and compartmentalized, phony tough who only want power. And you know what? The God of this world is going to give it to them. Especially when those of us that love good and recognize good stand down and do nothing. I talked about it while I was out of town. The corrupt system is opening the gates of hell. Let me get to these articles and I'll go to your calls and I'm going to come back and go through the rest of it. But, you know, I don't even think I'm going to cover this today. This is what I got at the Grand Canyon because I unpacked a lot of stuff in this morning. I was in a hurry and I couldn't find a big stack of newspapers and things that I had picked up along the way. It seemed like everywhere I'd go, I'd walk into a gas station in northern New Mexico and there'd be the local paper. And it would say Girls Night Out. The all-female police units set up checkpoints on highways and search cars. And so I said to Rick, it's systematic social engineering, archetypal iconography, total programming, intermixed with advertisements and brainwashing and all the rest of it. And the last rivalry in 115 years. Why am I not concerned with it? Why? Something's wrong with me, you see. I'm not a man. I shouldn't be concerned about the end of America, the end of the dollar, a movie finish, a photo finish. And I sat there and I watched people having a tribal victory of satisfaction that UT had defeated the A&M hordes festooned in their military regalia. But the New World Order was still there. The GMOing of the food was still there. The cancer viruses and the vaccine was still there. And I knew all the archetypes, the home team's army running out of the gladiatorial underground base out to face the enemy. The young maidens out there presenting themselves to the warriors. The maidens will be handed to the young men that defeat the foreign tribe. That's one tribe on one side, the other tribe on the other. University of Texas in the enemy's camp, behind enemy lines, all attack on the family. World War III being engineered. Because after all, I was given a football game. I shouldn't be concerned with all the police state things I saw while I traveled the country that just stunned me, worse than I even thought. I shouldn't be concerned. MF Global was ownership of talk radio, demonizing yours truly for influencing the White House shooter who thought he was Jesus. They're really gearing up to take everything. And I sat there with family last night at my house for Thanksgiving. We had it at my house. It was fun. And I even enjoyed watching the football game. 2 seconds left, UT field goal. Oh.